Hi, and welcome to this video with the ridiculously long title of Checking and Reducing Image Size for Posts Discussions, Not for Turning in Most Projects. The reason I gave it such a long name is I just don't want anyone to confuse it with the kind of final turn-in videos that I have. And let me just show you this real quick. So if you're on the Prof. Steve G website and you go to instructional videos, I have this whole page of videos under turn-in files. And most classes that you take with me, I'll ask you if you're doing an Illustrator file to turn it in with these particulars, and then the next two videos are the ones that I definitely don't want you to confuse this with, and that's when you take an image, convert it over to a bitmap, but with a really specific size in mind. So it should be pretty obvious when you're inside of Canvas announcements that I'll be directing you as to which video to watch to turn the project in. And obviously if you're watching this one, that's because that's what's needed for this. So it's usually not for final turn-ins of projects, but one big exception to that would be the first project that you do in my graphic design classes during this web environment, where I just want you to show me that you know how to mount the project. So you can think of this as a quick, down and dirty way to change, to first check and then to change image size if necessary. One thing to keep in mind, whenever you change an image size, you are also changing its quality. So if this is a good image that you're working with, make sure you back it up. So without further ado, let's get started. So you would go to your file or folder where your image or images are contained in particular. So let's say in here, for example purposes, this was the image that I was going to turn in. It was maybe a photograph of a project that I had for the class, whatever. But if it's kind of important to me, the very first thing I want to do is just right click on this and select to duplicate it. Okay, and then maybe it'll be the duplicate that I open up in Photoshop if I have to reduce its size. So we want on these posts, so that they're easy to open up and you don't fill up your data storage, to keep them around maybe 2 meg. If they're a little bit more than that, that's okay. So I think in writing here I put, let's keep them between 2 to 3 meg. So a lot of times in the file window itself, it'll tell you the size of the document. So these two are 16 meg, this one is only 799K, so this is definitely too big. If you don't see the size here and you don't feel like messing around with these options here to get it to show you, just right click on it, and on a Mac you'll go to Get Info, and I believe on a PC it's called Properties. So right click, Get Info, and then usually somewhere up near the top of the Get Info menu it tells you its size. So here it's showing you all the way out in bytes, or aka 16.1 megabytes. So what we'll do, our down and dirty way, is going to be to use Photoshop, because almost every class I teach, eventually we use Photoshop. So even if you don't know much at all about Photoshop, let's just do it. Even if you don't have Photoshop down here in your dock, just go up to the magnifying glass, start to type in Photoshop, and it should be one of the first hits, although I have 2 versions installed, so I want to go to the newest one. And then we're just going to open up this document in Photoshop now that we know it's too big. Now, if your image, when you looked at it, was less than, the low 2 meg area, like 2.3 meg, that'd be fine. You can go ahead and post that. If it's much bigger than that, then you just open it up in Photoshop and navigate to your particular area where it is. And now, even though this is not a project, it's actually 2 elephant seals telling each other they have bad breath. But no matter what image it is, you just simply go up into Image, Image Size, and here's where you can start reducing the image. Now, we know that this image size was around 16 megs, so don't listen to this. Don't get confused about this. it says image size, but it really has to do with Photoshop. There's 3 channels, and it's telling you all of the pixels between the 3 channels. So this will be off by a factor of approximately 3. But for our purposes, if you really just think in terms of a generic 8.5 by 11 document size at 72 pixels per inch, you'll be good. So inside of this box, make sure that resample is checked, and then just get it roughly to 72 pixels per inch at about an 8.5 by 11. So you can take the largest size here and turn it to 11. That's one way to do it. You can take the smaller size, change it to 8.5. And you can see this is quite a bit bigger than 8.5 by 11, but even this will be fine. So we're going to click OK here, and notice it tells me that the image size is 1.9. Again, this is wrong. You got to divide that by approximately 3, and that should be, about where it is. Now, once we do that, clicked OK, and we're just going to save it where the other one was by going File, Save As, selecting JPEG, and maybe putting some kind of note in there depending on what it was, that it's maybe reduced, so we know the quality, the high quality from the reduced quality one. And again, I changed the format to JPEG, and then as soon as I click Save, it's going to come up with another dialog box, and we made this image pretty small, so slide the quality over all the way to the largest, or to the maximum quality rating. Click OK. Now let's go back and check our folder, and we'll see that in this folder, that document that we saved with the word reduced in there is now 799K. So that's under 1 meg. So here's just a couple quick notes for you if you're not sure what a meg really means. 500 KB, which stands for kilobyte, is thousands, 500,000 bytes. That's a half a meg. So in the case of my image being, what was it, just under 800, so that's like, 80% of 1 meg, if that makes sense. But I just want you to know that if you see these numbers, that's definitely a KB is way smaller than a megabyte. It would take 1,000 kilobytes to make 1 meg. And then let me just scroll down this document so you can see the steps that we just did in Photoshop in written form. And that's pretty much all you need to know. You'd be good to go ahead and upload an image of that size to the discussion posts.